Welcome back, everyone, to Confessions of a PhD Survivor, the podcast where we share all the behind the scenes realities of academic life. No sugarcoating allowed. I'm Lama, and today we're talking about the thing that quietly decides everything: the lab environment. Because let's face it, once you step into that lab, you realize it's not just about mixing chemicals or running experiments. It's a universe with its own language, hierarchies, and secret social rules. Learn them and you'll breathe. Miss them, and even good data can feel like a bad day. My first day in the lab, let's say, it wasn't that happy memory I've been imagining. Picture me, brimming with excitement. I'm starting in a big cancer research lab in France. That's gonna be amazing. And then reality decides to introduce itself with a slap in the face. I arrived in Lille back in 2019, right around the time when the metro lines were apparently on a mission to stay off Google Maps. To everyone from Lille who remembers this dark era, my sympathies. For the rest of you, let me paint the picture. I'm standing there with my suitcase looking at a very unhelpful map app, slowly realizing that I might have rented an apartment in, maybe a different galaxy than my new lab. But eventually I do make it to the campus. I walk in, expecting to see a shiny new desk with my name on it, maybe a cheerful welcome llama sign. In reality, I found myself hopping from one free corner to another, like playing musical chairs, except without the music. With only bonjour and merci in my toolbox, I stood there thinking, is this really how my PhD begins? Here's what I only admit now. My first day was harsh. That missing desk was actually a diagnosis for what I will feel for months after, unplanned and unseen. I hadn't even met most people, yet I felt disrespected. I was an invited guest who arrived to find no place set at the table. All I wished for was 3 small things: a friendly sentence from any future colleague, a simple smile that needs no language, and a seat that quietly says, "You belong here and welcome on board." My friends, a desk is never just a desk. It is a proof that someone expected you, planned for you, thought about your first day. When it's missing, it often means culture is missing too. Leadership, cohesion, and even empathy. Alright, some of you will say now, that was the sign, run. So did I run? Spoiler, I didn't. We will unpack the why and how later, when we go under a hood in a deeper season. But if I could replay that first day, I would do one simple thing. Walk straight to the responsible and ask for a quick fix. Hi, I'm Lama. I'm new here. Looks like I don't have a desk yet. Could we set up a spot today so that I can start strong? So if you felt the same on your first day, please don't feel alone. It will get better, I promise. And if you are a young PI or a supervisor expecting a new member in your team, please don't forget the chair. Alright, keep your headphones on because now we will meet the cast of characters. Let me show you how I saw the lab on my first weeks. Picture it like a film set. Let's say the academic version of the Avengers, except everyone thinks that they are Iron Man. Somewhere between the lights and the labels enters your supervisor, the person who decides if this turns into a documentary, a thriller, or a very long blooper video. Now let me tell you something I should have personally flagged early. The structure was uncommon. More PIs than postdocs or engineers. In practice, it can wobble the lab's center of gravity. Too many thinkers, not enough people with time to build, test, and fix. So decisions multiply, however, hands don't. This imbalance can slow everyone's growth, in my opinion. Seniors spend less energy on modeling good leadership. Juniors get less feedback, less training, and maybe late troubleshooting help. In short, you can feel the lab busy without getting any better. That context matters for what comes next, my supervisor and I. We will get to that story a little later. For now, keep this picture in your head. Brilliant minds, but the system, it's still under progress. Step into any lab and you will be greeted by a mountain of official paperwork and training sessions. There is the chemical safety basics, the waste disposal, and my personal favorite, emergency exit and evacuation training. Great in theory. Though, the only time I truly wanted to sprint out from the lab had nothing to do with fire. But here's the twist. Behind the laminated posters and color-coded notes, it's a universe of unspoken lab rules. No one hands you a guide that says, for example, how to avoid being irritated by less responsible colleagues. Take the trash duty, for example. You would think it's a simple process. Fill the bin, tie the bag, take it out. But oh dear listener, it's an absolute art form in a busy lab. Some colleagues develop an amazing ability to vanish exactly when it's time to take out the overstuffed biohazard bag. Then there is the tip box battles. The rules are straightforward. If you use, you refill. And if you empty it, you take it out of the hood. Sadly, you will meet some that never get the memo. You will spot certain lab ninjas who, in a dazzling display of mental gymnastics, ensure they leave exactly one lonely tip in the box. Then they snap the lid shut, set it back on the bench, as if to say, see, technically it's not empty. Dear listener, if you are one of these people, I'm coming after you. Another important thing to pay attention to is that a lab is a micro-society. You would see on the lab's website the team, but not the sub-teams and affinities. You're totally free to hang out with whoever you click with. But here's the catch. There is still a basic level of respect and communication required to keep things running smoothly. You'd be amazed how a simple, "Hey, are you okay?" or "Would you mind if I borrow this?" can save you from a mini civil war. Generally, the folks who remain polite and helpful to everyone are rare like a perfect Western blot. So how nice to be one of them. If there is one big lesson I've taken from this, it's that being nice, kind, and helpful goes a long way, especially when the PIs are too busy to notice or to actively shape the day-to-day lab life. PI can still stand for positive influence, something any of us can choose to have. Infuse good vibes, offer a hand when someone's juggling too many tasks, and trust me, the payback, like a helping hand on your own tough day, will come around. So by all means, read your lab manuals and pay extra attention to these unwritten rules, because surviving, thriving, and even growing often depends on those tiny everyday gestures of lab etiquette. Yes, find your tribe, have fun with your sub-team, but remember, at the end of the day, our lab structure is everyone's responsibility to shape. For now, let's just say, if you ever wondered how a lab can feel both overmanaged and undermanaged at the same time, trust me, it's possible. And it's all part of the real lab environment that needs work to make it supportive. Because supportive lab environment can become your second home. On the flip side, a dysfunctional lab environment can make waking up in the morning very hard. The key? Observing the dynamics early. Spot the green flags and red ones and be careful. These are rarely neon. Join some lab meetings and see whether they end with a clear next step plan or if they are just monologues. Do people credit each other? Check the rotating tasks and the inter-sub-team relationships. And don't panic, this analysis is data and not drama. And most importantly, test the potentials and try to drag a change. Inject positive behaviors and notice the shift. For example, Fill the tick boxes and ask kindly for people to help. Credit your teammates in public, and when lab meetings are decisions light, help rotating priorities. Alright guys, let's wrap up our second episode. We have seen how a lab can be both a functional workspace and a mini reality show. Be nice, be kind, and refill the tip boxes, please. And if you see something that needs fixing, whether it's a broken protocol or a broken vibe, don't hesitate before helping. In our next episode, we will dive into lab hierarchies and leadership, or as I like to call it, who's really in charge here. This is Lama signing off from Confessions of a PhD Survivor. Thank you for tuning in, and remember, if your lab has no seat for you, just claim the corner and build your throne. See you in the next one.